Part 4 of Where Were You When the World Died?
Gale looked up with teary eyes that burned even harder with the air's chemical reaction. The droning got in close, and the swirling lights cutting through the haze fixated on Sucker Punch. Swooping down at breakneck speeds came a mech of sleek design built for war, cutting edge. Gale was too emotionally compromised to make it out and figure reasons why. The huge thing displaced the smoke and dust with a quick and tactical hovering drop. Gale reached over to open her comms, but in that moment, the streamlined Titan's hand rapidly formed a weapon. It opened fire liberally and hovered over the roofs of houses with droning repulsors. Its 60 cal sang. Gale pushed Sucker Punch as fast as she could while the bullets hit her hull like rain on tin. A shell managed to puncture through Sucker Punch's hull and exploded her console. Gale put up Sucker Punch's hand, attempting to protect herself from taking a stray hit. The enemy mech didn't bother running after her. It just kept pace in the air, hovering. The bullets rained. Gale balled up like a child being beaten up by a schoolyard bully. The incessant tapping slowly chipped away at Gale's mental fortitude, and her anger began to override her prudence. With teary eyes, she yelled with rage, "Fuck this!" She cranked her stereo and let whatever would be. Go Gun Girls by Metric screamed at her as she emerged from her fetal position and rose. With all the hate she had in her, she commanded Sucker Punch to fling a Toyota fire plug at the enemy pilot. The sleek hovering metal Titan evaded the car with an expert spin, but that wasn't enough. Another car came after it, then another. When the third car sailed its way up, and it seemed as if Gale had it dead to rights, the mech pulled a blade from its back and like a samurai of old, cut it in twain. Both halves of the vehicle fell, crashing through the roofs of houses. Gale ran towards the city proper, hoping to get some cover amongst the bigger buildings. Maybe she could entice the pilot to land. She picked up cars along the way, chucking them skyward periodically, making the enemy pilot switch between evasion, gunning, or swordplay. Gale got down Main Street and ducked into an alley. The way was narrow enough that Sucker Punch could barely maneuver through it. She breathed easy when she thought she had a moment. But that victory was short-lived when she saw the metal insect-like eyes of the enemy mech cutting through the dust. The enemy pilot hit the thrusters and charged at Sucker Punch so quickly she could barely turn around before it picked her up with two hands. Sucker Punch was airborne. She tried to reach the fret saw on her back, but the thing released her before she got to swing. The enemy mech landed and drew its sword. There was an eerie orange glow that radiated the blade. Without warning, the mech shot into the air and flew off. Gale saw nothing of it because she passed out. Little Erickson ran towards the collapse without the slightest concern for the danger. "Eccleston, get back here!" Benit yelled to his ward. The kid was uninterested in listening to his hero, especially if he hadn't planned on acting the part. The building churned with structural uncertainty. Benit scooped up Erickson with two hands and dove behind a wrecked car with blistering speed. The huge insect-like mech shot into the air as if it had pressing business, but Benit wasn't risking it. With the addition of the suit, Erickson was rather heavy, and if he wasn't so chromed up himself, he more than likely wouldn't have had the strength to move him at all. "What is it?" Erickson asked Benit. "Who the fuck knows? Maybe it's with whoever fucked this city up to begin with. If they're the bad guys, then the other ones must be the good guys." It was a simple logic, and oddly enough, simple explanations worked for him. They ran over to the downed mech that was smashed into a building and looked like it was knocked out. "Somebody may still be alive in there," said Erickson. Benit grabbed the boy. The child looked at the athlete as if betrayed. There was something about that unsaid glance of disillusionment that shook him. It was a look of not getting any presents at Christmas, a look of no one remembering your birthday. It was a look that was the death of childhood wonder. Benit smiled weakly and said, "Let me clear it out before you come up." Erickson's hopeful smile returned. The boy's faith in his hero was reaffirmed, and he got to be a child a few hours longer. Benit smiled as well, but when he turned to the outdated mech, it dropped fast. This was why he didn't fuck with kids. His hip creaked and whirred as he leapt from shifting rock to shifting rock. He ran on top of the downed mech like an insect and looked into the small rectangular view window. It was a woman inside of a yellow flame retardant suit. Her cockpit was smoking, but there was no signs of visible fire. "Hey lady, wake up!" Benit yelled. "Is everything alright up there?" Erickson yelled up to his hero. "Yep," Benit said while giving an over-exaggerated smile and a huge thumbs up. Benit and Erickson's heads went up when they heard the sounds of combat in the distance. Guns blazed. Metal crunched on metal. Benit turned to the downed woman in the mech. "Sleeping Beauty, you gonna need to wake your ass up." Benit saw fire start on her console. "Ah, fuck," he said. "Shit couldn't be easy, right? Little motherfucker got me up here being a hero or some shit," he muttered under his breath. He cocked back a massive fist and cracked the glass with a single blow. He hopped down into the Titan. The woman's breathing mask was askew. He put it back in place and looked for a fire extinguisher. "Come on, lady, help me out," Benit said desperately. As he was about to pull the woman out of the cockpit and say fuck it, she opened her eyes. She shrieked a bit, seeing this massive half-man, half-machine standing over her. "Come on, we gotta go," said Benit. The woman batted Benit's hand away frantically and pushed a button on her console. White extinguishing mist sprayed from all directions. The woman began to hit the controls and their orientations shifted while the standing process began. "Cool!" Erickson yelled down from below, and both of them heard it. "You brought your son to a battlefield?" said the woman that was more punk rock than the law allowed. "The battlefield got brought to my son," said Benit, until he realized what he was saying and pivoted hard. "He ain't my fucking son, lady. If you don't want to get blown up, I suggest you take your kid and get as far away from here as you can," she said. "Not my kid," Benit said, but was interrupted when the mech started moving. "The fuck you going, lady?" Benit said. "Gotta fuck that thing up," she said over the loud music that fought to drown out their voices. "You crazy as fuck. That thing kicked the shit out of you," he said. "You leaving or not?" she said, giving Benit a few seconds for yay or nay. Benit heard Erickson yelling gleefully down below like he had just won a game, and something about having someone seeing him as that guy made him want to be that guy. Benit stoically nodded his head as if to say, "I'm in," without saying it at all. Gale pushed the sucker punch even though its heat levels were off the charts. She may well have been piloting a fireball with feet. The meched up black dude who looked suspiciously like a pro football player she had vague memories of loomed over her shoulders. His name was Benit something or other if she guessed correctly. Quite honestly, she was so fueled by rage that she didn't give much of a fuck if it was the devil himself riding shotgun. She was chasing death by the tail. She took Sucker Punch's frets off from her back and charged into the theater of war, preparing for her spotlight.